Hey, Kingsley here, and today we're going to talk about how the 11 rules that I believe that all couples who are struggling, or any couple that's struggling with their marriage, that they can transform their marriage to a happier one, a thriving marriage, if they would subscribe or follow or implement these 11 rules. If each of you as a spouse put make a commitment to implement and follow these rules, I believe that your marriage could be transformed in a very short time. And if that's what you really want, you want to listen to these 11 rules. And I also want to mention that at the end of this, I want to make an offer for you to have these 11 rules in a very colorful one-page PDF that I'll tell you how to get that. And you will be able to have that to put on your refrigerator or in your room or on the walls, any place you so choose, so that you can be reminded about what these 11 rules are. Because I believe that marriage is like a journey that we are all on, those of us who have been married. And one thing I do know, it takes effort and dedication and intentionality. And I'm sure you've found that out if you've been married for any length of time. And it has to be a continuous thing. It doesn't happen overnight. And we have to be on this journey. And I believe these 11 rules could help you to make it much easier. By the way, if you're just listening to me for the first time and don't know who I am, my name is Kingsley Grant. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist and also a certified relationship coach. And I have a weekly podcast called Happier Marriage Secrets that is available on all platforms. You can listen to that, but also you can read the blogs that is put out on a regular basis as well at happiermarriagesecrets.com. Happiermarriagesecrets.com. You can find the blogs, but also all the podcast past episodes you can find right there as well. So make sure you avail yourself of those, and don't forget that at the end of this 11 rules, you'll be able to find out where you can get a copy of a one-page PDF, colorful PDF that has all 11 rules on there. So let's start with the rules. Then rule number 1 is actively listen to each other. As you know and have found out, listening is as important as talking, right? Take the time to truly understand your spouse. Listen to him, listen to her. What is their point of view? What perspective are they bringing? Remember, it's going to be different from yours. And what they want to know is that you're listening to them. And if you have been ever heard or you said yourself, you just don't listen to me. Why? Because this rule is being broken. This rule is being broken. So you want to make sure that you follow this rule actively, not just listen, but actively listen to your partner. Rule number 2, respect each other. Now, this is a big one, especially for husbands. And because that's the number one thing that we as men, we want to know that we are respected in any setting we find ourselves, especially in our home, that our wives respect us, so that if we have children, they too can be respectful of us. And as a man, we need that more than anything else. And I know that, of course, you say, well, don't we as wives need it? Yes, you do. But it's not as paramount for you as it is for a man. He wants to know that he's respected. And so, but I'm not speaking about so much about that kind of respect. It's the idea of respecting each other's wishes and opinions and basically sometimes our privacy. Now, I know this can be a very questionable or troubling part when I mention about privacy, because it raises in your mind the question that, does that mean that my spouse should have private things that I know nothing about? No, I'm not advocating for that. But I believe that when there's stress in the relationship, there are times when you should be able, my wife, she has her own phone. I have my phone. We can always see what's on there, and I can share my phone with her and vice versa. But as a practice, we just stay in our own lane. And, because I trust her and she trusts me when it comes to that. So we're respecting our privacy, but respect our boundaries, respect each other's wishes and also opinions, and not force ourselves on the other person by disrespecting their wishes or their boundaries or what they would like for themselves, right? Number 3, show appreciation regularly. I can't tell you how often I've heard from a spouse who would say, my husband, my wife I don't feel appreciated in my home, right? I don't feel appreciated in my home. Have you ever said that? Have you ever heard that? This is because what happened is we want to make our partner, our spouse, our husband or our wife know how much we appreciate them for who they are, but also for what they do. So a small gesture like thank you can go a very long way, or just a word. I appreciate that you did or considered or thought about those kind of things. We want to make sure don't take things for granted, and because familiarity breeds contempt, and you don't want it to happen. So regular appreciation is critical. Number four, keep God at the center. Now, whether you are a person that shares faith with your husband or your wife, maybe you have maybe you're the only person in the home who's faith centered. Well, you want to make sure you're focusing on your faith, right? Make sure that you're working towards and keeping up with your commitment, your convictions as it relates to your faith. But if you share faiths together, then you want to pray regularly, do Bible study and devotions together. You want to talk about things together that pertain to spiritual matters and interpret what's happening in our world through spiritual lenses. So keep God at the center. So many couples have gotten married, those who have a faith based marriage, and they would leave God, so to speak, at the altar and go about doing their own business. We need to change that and make sure God is a center. That will be number one for me. God has to be the center. In my mind, in my philosophy, ideology is God first, family second, and everything else comes third, right? So it could be God first, husband and wife. So I'll put marriage second, children third, and everything else comes afterwards. But keep God at the center of your marriage. Number five, communicate openly and honestly. This is one of those areas where I find most couples will say when they're coming for counseling or coaching, this is the area they start out with. And they'll say, we just don't communicate. We just don't communicate, or our communication sucks. It's really needs work. And this is where they want to start, right? But I would say you want to be willing to and be open to talk about issues. A safe environment is created so that your spouse would want to communicate and not feel checked about opening up to you because of past experience. You want to heal the past experiences so that you can communicate openly and honestly. Number six, accept each other's differences. You're different from your wife and your husband, and well, remember that. So you both don't are not the same. If both of you were the same, one of you would be irrelevant, just not needed. So you need to be different and appreciate and celebrate the differences. So accept the differences, that you would have some things that you see a certain way and your spouse sees some things a certain way. You don't have to agree on everything, right? You can acknowledge the fact that that person sees and experience and interpret things the way they do, but you don't have to agree with them, but acknowledge them. And this will go back to respect earlier, but it's accepting each other's differences, that you have a certain set of opinions, right? And your spouse have a certain set of opinions about certain things, and appreciate that. Don't try to shut that down or change them to become like you. Then of course then you don't need two of yourself, right? So accept each other's differences. Number seven, don't keep score. I cannot tell you how many spouses I've worked with, or couples, who will share and they will bring out this long laundry list of things that one have done and the other haven't done. I would suggest strongly that you just don't keep score. You let go of things, right? Don't keep track of who did what, when, and how. Begin to have faith in the other person and trust that they have your best interest at heart, and they're doing things really for you and for the relationship. So when you begin to keep score and begin to trade and basically compare notes on this, it really does your relationship. It doesn't do it good. It does it harm. So don't keep score. Let go of those things, right? Number eight, put your marriage first. Put your marriage first. Prioritizing your marriage over everything and everyone else is a must. I can tell you how many couples have said that I don't feel like a priority in your life. They'll say that to their partner because why? Everything else comes before their marriage, right? Children, hobbies, leisure activities, work, friends, you name it. And the marriage takes a backseat. that cannot happen and that should not happen. You need to prioritize your marriage. So put your marriage first. Number 9, be quick to forgive. Now, I know this is not an easy topic because forgiveness is not easy, right? It is necessary and it is important. And anybody who will tell you that forgiveness is easy have not been truly hurt deeply. Anyone who has been offended and deeply hurt and deeply wounded will tell you it's not an easy thing. It is a it's challenging, right? It causes you to dig deep, but it's a necessity. Whatever you have to do to forgive quickly your spouse, and there has to be, of course, other things around that. A request had to be made and remorse shown and so on. But still, the point is forgive quickly your partner's mistakes. Forgive them. I mean, don't hold on to things beyond what's necessary, right? Hold on to the positive memories of your marriage, not the negative ones. And I believe if you go to the positive, you'll be able to forgive much easier. Number 10, don't compare. I cannot tell you how when a spouse is sharing about how they feel that their husband or their wife have been comparing them to the other, another marriage, or comparing them to a friend's marriage, or even comparing them as an individual to a family of origin, your father or your uncle or your mom or this. People don't want to be compared. So don't fall into that trap. But I find that sometimes when it's used, it's a leverage. So you can beat the other person over the head and hopefully have them shut up and go away. But my friend, that's not what's happening. You are actually causing destruction to your marriage. So don't compare your spouse or don't compare your marriage with another marriage. Your marriage have its own lane that you're in. Stay in your lane, right? And be able to recognize that you have to run your own race and stay in your own lane, because that is what the lane you've been given, and you have to work that. And without comparison, you may have thoughts about what can to make your relationship better, right, by looking at other relationships, but not to compare. And number 11, make time for each other. Make time to enjoy each other's company. And that's why I recommend many times for a date night, a weekly date night, preferably. Now, some people cannot do the weekly, but at least bi-weekly. Find some way to spend time with your spouse. Make time for that. Don't say, well, if we can find time. You won't find time. You have to make it happen. Time is elusive, right? It's going to happen. It's going to pass, whether you like it or not. You cannot control time. You cannot manage time. You can only manage you and what you do with time. And that's why you got to make time, schedule it to make sure it happens. So, my friend, these 11 rules are essential, I believe, for your marriage. If it's struggling and you want a more thriving and healthier marriage, begin to implement these rules in your marriage, right? Take one at a time and work that into the fabric of your relationship and see what difference it makes. And I'd love to hear from you. And you can always comment on these videos and let me hear your feedback, what your thoughts are on this, and share this. And make sure you subscribe to this video, to the show. Subscribe both to the podcast, at happiermarriagesecrets.com. You can go there and see how you can subscribe to the podcast, but also to this channel that you're listening on. Subscribe and make sure you're alerted to whenever any new videos that come out, right? And make sure to follow these rules, and you'll be sure to have a happier marriage. Now, I mentioned at the beginning that you can get a copy, a one-page PDF, colorful, printable, and or have on your device of these 11 rules. And so if you would like a copy of this, if you go to happiermarriagesecrets.com/rules, very simple, happiermarriagesecrets.com/rules, you'll be able to get access to this, and we'll send it to your email address. So, my friend, thank you for listening today, and we hope that you will continue to be a part of this movement and how you can make your marriage a happier one. So with that said, my friend, peace out, God bless, and I'll see you next time.